Everyone, and welcome to another lesson. So in the last lesson we started talking about set methods in JavaScript, and we talked about the ask method and the for each method of invoking a function on each set element, which we saw in the example that were given in that lesson. And then we saw how the ask method helps to identify if a specified value is contained in a set. So this happens to be the methods of working with sets in JavaScript that we discussed about in the last lesson. So in this lesson, we are going to move on and we're going to talk about another method that exists in JavaScript for working with sets, and it is called the values method. The values method returns an iterator object with the values in a set. So just as when we talked about the for each method that invokes a function on each set element, the values method instead returns an iterator object with the values in a set, which means that the result of a values method is going to is an object with the values that is contained in a set. And if you take a look at my screen, you can see an example. So this is my set. Then this is how the iterator is defined. So a variable, then my the method is passed into the set that I have here, and then with the help of the for of array, then I'm able to loop over this letter set and then list all values. So let's take a look at this in my code editor. So here we are working with JavaScript set values method. I'm correct, right? Now the values method returns an iterator object with the values in a set. And then I can just take this out. And then we are still making use of what I have right here on the screen. So this is my new set, letter, and I want to iterate over this. So let me make another my iterator as my variable and say letters dot value. And then from here I can now use the for of method to loop over this const, then my variable here, and then what is the output? Yeah, text plus equals x plus this, and outside of this I can say document.get elements by id. You will not see anything because I'm yet to make that text variable. So this is the empty text variable, and now you can see the way it iterates over my set, and then with the values, not values, sorry, and you can see how it is returning an object with the values in a set. So to return an iterator object, this, and then with the value in my set, you can see the way it listed out everything. So this is how the values method works in JavaScript. So another example that I want to give about this is that we've talked about the fact that the value method returns an iterator object with all the values in a set. I also want to just quickly point out another example to show how we can do this. Of course, you see the way we just do this by, making another variable, passing in an empty string, and then looping over the value of the set, and then getting an output. You can as well not go through it line by line like this. You can as well pass in this value into our iterator directly, and it will work. So this is what I mean. So instead of making this separate const my array letters dot value that you have here, I can just basically do this. and make my empty string. Once I have that my empty string, then I can go straight into iterator mode and say, okay, I want to loop over this, and then pass in my set directly. Then the method, which is the values method, close it, and then inside this I can just do the usual, say text equals x plus break. So this is a break tag, and then you can see that I'm still getting the same result by output. So this is a shorter way. You can see that this eliminated the process of saying const my iterator equals to letters dot value. This was what we had initially, but this, we don't need it anymore. You can see that this way it is very straightforward. So I'm just passing the iterator and the method inside the iterator, which now returns an object with the values in a set, which is what you can see right here on my screen. So this is how the values method work in JavaScript. So it returns an iterator object with the values in a set. So values method is another method of working with sets in JavaScript, just as the way we've talked about the hash method in working with JavaScript, and we saw the for of loop, how we can use it to list elements of an array. And you can see that in this particular example and in this particular topic as well, we still made use of the for of array in order to get out our values in a set. So the for of method is a very, very useful and important aspect or concept of both arrays and sets. As you can see that it allows us to iterate over each element and then get an output in our our code or in our browser. So this is how this method, the values method, works in JavaScript. And in the next lesson we'll continue. I'll see you there.